One of my favorite buy and hold forever positions, SCHD or the Schwab US Dividend Equity ETF, just recently announced and now paid their very first dividend of 2024, the March dividend of 61 cents per share. And even though this dividend does signify a small increase from the previous dividend SCHD paid back last March, the 2024 March dividend growth rate is much slower than what we've seen in previous years. Now in this video we are going to dig deep into the previous dividends SCHD has paid over the past several years, and try to figure out if this ETF still has what it takes to be known as the dividend growth king moving forward. Now if you hold any shares of SCHD, I definitely recommend you stick around, drop a like down below, and let's get right into it. I just finished my brand new dividend investing ebook where I share exactly how I went from zero to now over 7 figures invested, and also on how I earned more than $6,000 per month in dividends. I also finished my custom dividend tracker that you can use to track your dividend income progress on an ongoing basis. So make sure to grab yourself a copy of my dividend investing ebook and the new dividend tracker today. It's the first link in my description. So jumping right into it, 61 cents was the first dividend of the year for SCHD. And although there was a lot of speculation because other dividend growth ETFs have not been showcasing any sort of massive dividend growth, at least so far this year, there's a lot of speculation that SCHD's March dividend could even come in lower than the previous one. And luckily for shareholders, including myself of SCHD, that did not happen to be the case, as the dividend of 61 cents is larger than the previous dividend last year at 60 cents. But in the case of SCHD, a dividend growth ETF that's known for having a consistent high dividend growth rate, a 1 cent dividend raise is not really cutting it for some investors. But digging into the real nitty gritty, looking at every single dividend that SCHD has paid since the inception of this ETF, just to sort of get a baseline and a track record of what's been going on over the past several years. Now this column up here shows percentage change from previous years. So this column indicates whether or not the dividend has grown in that current quarter year over year, or if it hasn't. And as we can see, every single quarter for the most part over the last several quarters, several years at that, have been growing pretty consistently. Of course, some quarters, some years more than others, all up until last June 2023, where SCHD declared a 67 cent dividend back in June, which was 5.6% lower than the previous June. Now, even though that was the first time in a long time that the dividend growth train has stopped, investors, including myself, sort of looked at it as a one-time thing, thinking that it's not really going to happen, at least hopefully not again. And after all, like I said a second ago, if you look right here, there's been several years of dividend growth. There's even been certain quarters where SCHD's dividend is up 29% versus the previous 12 months. But looking a little bit deeper into sort of more of the modern times, the last 4 payouts we can see was a minus 5.6% change from the previous year, which was pretty devastating. Then after that, we saw a plus 2.8%, a plus 5.5%, and a plus 2.4% over the previous year, which was just paid as of recently. Now these numbers are coming in much lower than the previous numbers we saw even a few years back, where we saw 15%, 13%. We even saw quarters up 30% versus the previous year. So this definitely brings up and bears the question if or if not SCHD is going to have as much dividend growth as it did in the past. Now, of course, when it comes to any ETF for the most part, the dividends that are paid and the dividend growth are going to have a lot to do with the holdings that make up the fund. And just as of recently with SCHD being shaken up a ton, with a ton of brand new names now a part of the ETF, and on top of that a ton of names that are now headlining the ETF. Names like Texas Instrument are now at the top of the ETF. We also still have names like UPS, we have the Home Depot, BlackRock, Cisco, PepsiCo, names like Lockheed Martin, we have Pfizer, Chevron, and other names that are now climbing the ranks in this ETF. Now just off the top of my head, there's names in here that do historically have some massive dividend growth. Names like Lockheed Martin and even Pepsi. So long term, as long as SCHD's holdings continue to offer significant dividend growth, the ETF's dividend should most likely follow. Or maybe I should say that they better follow, because a lot of dividend growth investors that are invested heavily into SCHD are banking on the fact that this ETF is going to continue to pay more and more in dividends long term, because that's exactly what it's done historically. Considering back around 10 years ago in March, SCHD paid around 24 cents per share per quarter, and now just as of this recent March, 61 plus cents per share per quarter, which indicates the ETF is now paying over double in dividends, which is not bad whatsoever. But for long-term buy and hold investors like myself, I'm not necessarily super excited about getting a 2.4% raise year over year, because in that case, there's probably other investment vehicles that would perform just as well as, if not better. But in the talks of the most recent SCHD dividend for Q1 of 2024, I want to hear from you guys down below. Is the March dividend upsetting to you, and are you still buying shares of SCHD like crazy? Let me know down below in the comments. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to please drop a like and subscribe for more future content like this. Thanks as always for stopping by, and if you are interested in investing, make sure to check out these recent videos I posted right here.